I woke up this morning craving a good coffee. I could make a cup at home, but it's not the same as the gadget shit they use at the cafe. Mixing the foam, creamer, maybe a shot or two of espresso. Come on, how's a homemade coffee with a splash of store-brand creamer gonna compare to that? As I was headed to the cafe, my car kept jolting, like a giant foot was kicking me in the ass. At first I thought someone kept bumping into me, but when I looked in my rearview, nobody was there. I picked up my coffee. Every bit of craving that I had was satisfied in that first sip. But what I wasn't prepared for was the jolting car ride. I had one hand on the wheel and one hand holding the coffee, trying to keep it stabilized. If I just keep it in the cup holder, the jolts will have it spilling everywhere. I pulled into an auto shop. I got out and let the mechanic have its way at it. He inspected my car and said I'll need to leave it here for a month to get it fixed. I said, a month? Why a month? Apparently there was a long wait list of cars he had. I had to get in line like it's a damn nightclub. I told him I'll take my car elsewhere. I thought this was going to be a peaceful morning. Grab my coffee, head back home, and watch some morning news. But no, I'm on a goose hunt for a good auto shop. I saw another one when I was driving, Mary the mechanic. I pulled in to see what her quote was. When I walked in, a gorgeous brunette lady walked out from the garage. She had on the oil-stained jumpsuit and steel-toed boots. I got out of my car and gave her the spiel. She said it might be a piston issue or something clogged. Come back in a couple days and it should be fixed. I asked what the cost might be. She couldn't ballpark it until she inspected it, but nothing over $500. I like Mary already. I left my keys with her and took a rideshare back home. Over the next couple of days, I couldn't stop thinking about Mary. I also realized how much of a pain in the ass it is not to have your car. I'm not that familiar with bus routes. Ride shares can get expensive. I guess I could use one of those e-scooters, but fuck that, I want my car back. Finally, the day has come to pick up my car and see Mary. I made sure I looked good, smelled good. I know it sounds dumb to do all that, but I wanted to be clean cut when I asked out Mary. I took a ride share down to Mary's garage. My heart was pounding. I started getting nervous. Then I thought, pull yourself together. You're just picking up your car from a mechanic. When have you ever been nervous to pick up a car from a mechanic? Mary stepped out. My whole psyched up train of thought immediately crashed. I know I'm not just here to pick up a car from a mechanic. I'm here to ask out the mechanic. Mary approached me with my paperwork, heart thumping like a schoolboy seeing his crush. She told me a rat got stuck in the engine compartment. Probably snuck inside the vent, but she got it out. I asked what the damage was, cost-wise. She said $100. It was a pretty big rat. I paid Mary the $100 while she was printing my receipt. I'm standing there. She's got the smile, the hair, the look. And I'm thinking, okay, Dash, just ask her out. Just say it. 4 words. Wanna go to dinner. So I open my mouth, and instead of wanna get dinner, I say, do you eat food? Like a damn idiot. But I did correct myself. Somehow, she gives me her number. Writes it on a receipt with the grease smudge right over the phone number. It was the most intimidating piece of paper I've ever held. It smelled like oil and danger. Later that evening, Mary picked me up in front of my place. I can't begin to express how embarrassing this is. I know my car is in her shop, and she knows that. But the matter of getting picked up for a date as a guy just feels wrong. Does she get out the car and open my door? Our date was perfect, as if everything went right. Nice corner table. I hate getting seated in the middle. I feel like a circus show. Everybody's watching me eat. Mary ordered a rare porterhouse. I got the same, but I got mine medium well. I tried rare once and it tasted like shit. Excuse me. Bloody pink shit. Never again. But aside from the steak choices, it seemed like our chemistry was on point. Every joke and reference I'd throw at her she caught. No awkward pauses, dead-end topics. It was a seamless conversation. Mary told me a little about herself. She was born in rural Georgia. Her parents owned a slaughterhouse, which was a staple of her childhood. Mary and her brother often worked in the slaughterhouse preparing meats for packaging. She went into detail describing the metallic scent of blood clinging to her clothes and the low groan of cattle becoming her lullaby. When Mary hit her mid-20s, she decided to leave home and head to California. After a few cities, she finally resided in Rottenland. I asked how she got into mechanics. She said it was her brother. They would take cars from the junkyard and work on them for fun. When she got to Rottenland, there was a garage vacant, and she knew that's where her bread and butter was. Mary seemed like a wholesome girl. I would have never guessed from the supermodel look she has, but I guess you should never judge a book by its cover. After dinner, Mary dropped me back at home. Again, this feels weird. I should be in the driver's seat leaning over to give her a final kiss, but whatever. I gave Mary a kiss and wished her a good night. I walked to my complex and entered inside. Mary and I's next date was at a racetrack, one of those passenger experiences. I've always wanted to do it, but never committed. I guess today I am. Seeing the racetrack is pretty intimidating because you know you're about to go 100 plus down that shit. Hitting curves at speeds you've never hit. Mary and I got our tickets and we're waiting for our driver. I hope whoever it is the professional of all professionals. I want them driving better than they can walk. If I'm getting in a speeding bullet, I want Clint Eastwood pulling the trigger. An employee walked up to me and Mary and handed us helmets. He gave Mary a set of keys. Hold on. I asked Mary if she was about to drive us. She said yes. She does this all the time. I thought I was going to be a professional instructor. I was a bit concerned of Mary's driving skills. She's great on normal roads, but can she handle a racetrack? I had no choice but to find out. As Mary peeled out of the pit lane, I immediately gripped the roll cage, eyes wide with fear. We blasted to 160 miles an hour. I tried to say something, but my lips were flapping like a cartoon character. I looked over at Mary and she's shifting gears like a fighter pilot. At one point, we were so sideways I thought we slipped into another dimension. By the end of the ride, I felt every internal organ had shifted. I couldn't wait to put my feet on the ground. But I will give Mary her credit. She definitely knows how to drive. Our following date was more of my choice. It was an escape room. I thrive at those things. The one we found was medieval themed. Torches on the wall, fake dungeons, a plastic dragon school, the whole hoopla. Mary and I were grouped with a Midwestern family. They seemed sweet, but clueless. We entered the first room. Not gonna lie, I did get on my high horse a little bit. We started solving clues. I'm barking orders, tossing people keys. You find the skulls, you translate the runes, you light the torch. 35 minutes in, we're at the final puzzle. Some combination lock with symbols from a fake prophecy. Everyone's overthinking it. I just step in, spin the dial twice, and it opens. Everyone's looking at me like a hero. I say some people have street smarts, some have book smarts. I have room smarts. On top of our fun excursions, Mary introduced me to a lot of new restaurants. A few buffets and some cool themed ones like the in-flight restaurant. It mimics a 747 Boeing interior. I'm talking seats, cabin crew, in-flight meals. Of course, it was gourmet meals. Their slogan is travel without leaving the ground. There was also one called the Dockside Dish, a nice speakeasy type of restaurant. It was mainly seafood, but it gave the illusion that you're dining in an old ship. It's been 6 months since I've been dating Mary. I stepped on the scale today, and it didn't look good. I gained a noticeable 50 pounds. I looked in the mirror, side view, and started to see my stomach spill over. I haven't really noticed the gain until now. I've been spending so much time with Mary, I haven't found time to work out or stop eating. It's like wherever we go, she's asking me to stop and get food. Must be my sweetheart. Sure enough, it is. I picked up the phone, Mary on the other line. She asked if I could grab a box of sockets from her house and bring it to the shop. I said sure. Mary had given me her spare keys since I'm over there more often than not. She gave me instructions where to find the sockets in the garage. I headed over. I entered Mary's garage. As many times as I've been over, I've never been inside here, but it's nothing you wouldn't expect in an average garage. I ran through Mary's instructions in my head. I found the sockets and was about to leave. Then I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. It was the Lost Jolly Rancher board game. I haven't played that since I was a kid. Me and my siblings would play that anytime it was too hot outside or there wasn't anything good to watch on TV. I pulled it off the shelf to snap a photo. I was going to send it to my family group chat. I opened the box to look inside, but there was nothing in there. Nothing about the game. There was a book inside, though. Mary's cookbook. Well. I didn't know Mary was a master chef. I flipped open the book to check out her recipes. There's a note in the beginning of the book. For best results, 6 months prep time. I kept flipping, and flipping, and flipping. And with each flip, my jaw dropped lower. Every recipe was made with human parts. There was even photos of the finished dishes. 6-month prep time. Is this bitch about to eat me? I closed the book, put it back in the board game, put it back on the shelf. I left out the garage and drove to Mary's shop. I pulled up to the shop. Mary was helping out a customer. I was trying to think of a way to break it off before she's picking her teeth with my carcass. I got out of my car and walked over. I gave her the sockets and told her we needed to talk. We stepped to the side and I just said it. We need to see other people. She looked at me like I canceled her Netflix subscription. I said it's been great, but the relationship ran its course. She completely refused. Even laughed like everything I said was just a joke. She said we're not breaking up. And if those words ever came out of my mouth again, she was going to cut my tongue out. I think I passed by a dish in her cookbook that used tongue. I didn't know what to do. I tried asking a few guys to hit on her. Maybe that'll take her attention off of me. But no, she just tells them that I have a boyfriend. I even tried the slob approach. I wore my clothes all wrinkly and stained, had shit crusted around my mouth like I was eating messy. Even ate beans before I saw her so I could let out the most vicious rips known to man. And I did. Even after making myself the most disgusting person to date, she still wouldn't leave. This woman's relentless. I had one last trick up my sleeve. Ghost her. I went excommunicado. I didn't block her because that would make it more obvious. I'd rather make her think I fell off the face of the earth. A subtle Irish goodbye of dating. Everything went well at first. I was able to avoid her with no problem. It almost seemed too easy. And then there was the grocery store incident. I'm at the store picking up a few items. I turned down aisle 9 and see Mary grabbing a box of cereal. I panic. I don't go down the aisle. Instead, I back out. I take a sharp right and ditch the cart near the frozen foods like I've abandoned a crime scene. I'm ducking behind cereal boxes, hiding near the bulk rice bin like some kind of spy. I followed her until she hit the checkout. Now I'm feeling like the crazy one. I returned back to my basket, which was miraculously untouched, and completed my shopping. That was a terrifying 10 minutes of my life. I returned home. While I was unpacking the groceries from my car, I could see Mary parked down the block. I didn't know if she was trying to be inconspicuous, but she stuck out like a sore thumb. I pretended not to notice her. I didn't want eye contact to provoke any invitation inside. When I brought the bags in, I peeked out my window. Crazy broad is just staring up at my apartment with binoculars. Okay, this is officially psycho shit. I could smell a Lorena Bobbitt situation happening from here. I packed a duffel bag with clothes and hygiene stuff. I booked a cabin for tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. A few hours later, I looked out my window. Mary was gone, but I'm sure she'll be back. In fact, this is probably a good time to leave. I hurried to my car, threw everything in the back seat, and sped off. I sat back on the cozy recliner fixed perfectly in front of the window, the morning sun beaming through. You know it's good sunlight when you can see the little dust particles floating through it. I took a sip of my coffee. The owners of the cabin had a French press, so I made that gourmet shit. This is all I wanted. A nice cup of coffee and a relaxing morning. I hate to ruin it by thinking of Mary, but I couldn't help it. I never saw a sign of her being a red flag, let alone a cannibal. I wonder who she eats. Just anybody? Maybe all her customers at the garage? You know when you pass by a garage and the front is filled with dead cars? Mary had plenty of cars on her lot. Could all those be her victims? My mind kept going down the rabbit hole of Mary the Mechanibal. I figured some fresh air should help. Out back there was an ATV with a little note placed on top. It said, "You can ride, but please don't damage." I don't even know how to ride this shit, but I'm about to figure it out. It took me about 3 minutes to become semi-decent at operating it. I took it through the Rottenland Forest. Everything looked so beautiful. I don't visit nature that often, mostly a city boy. But when I am out here, I almost don't want to leave. I can hear the wind talking through the trees, the birds chiming, and for a moment, I remember what it feels like to just be. I saw my gas gauge getting low, and I forgot the first rule of exploring: remember your way back. I followed my tire tracks as best as I could. Some of the tracks got dissolved by water. Luckily, I had my car keys on me. I kept pressing the lock button to set off the horn. I followed the sound and eventually landed back at the cabin. To top off the aesthetic of this little camping getaway, I made a campfire and put some s'mores on. As I was eating my s'mores, I started to think about s'mores. It's clearly a shortened version of some more. But what the fuck does some more have to do with graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallow? Out of all the treats and desserts you can have some more of, a graham sandwich takes the win? I smell something fishy. I heard something moving in the trees ahead. It could be a deer, a rabbit. I'm trying to avoid saying it's a bear, but I'm definitely not going to wait to find out. I put out the fire, grabbed my stuff, and went inside. I made myself a cup of coffee. While it was brewing, I was looking out the window to see what the hell that was, but it was dark. I couldn't see a thing out there. I'm hoping it was just a deer or mountain lion. My coffee finished brewing. I took it to the living room. I sat on my couch and started scrolling through reels. About 5 minutes in, I started to feel drowsy. Maybe the creamer was bad, or the s'mores. I tried to get up and walk to the bedroom, but I couldn't. It was like I was slowly slipping into paralysis. The only thing functioning was my eyes. I looked to my far left and saw Mary walking to me with the meat hook in one hand and her phone in the other. When she approached me, she showed me her screen. It was a tracking app. I guess at some point during our dating, she put a tracker on my car. She proceeded to tie my hands with rope. I was a limp gimp at this point. She scooped me on the meat hook and dragged me outside. I saw a bonfire with a chain hanging above it. Mary stripped my clothes and covered me in a whole bunch of marinade. I hate to admit it, but the smoky scent mixed with the smokehouse rub had a pretty good smell. Mary lifted me up and lashed me onto the chain. I was dangling above the fire. I could feel the heat, but luckily it wasn't too bad. I was a nice distance above it. I couldn't scream. I could only watch Mary sit there flipping through her magazine. After about 30 minutes of nothing cooking, I think she realized her mistake. She stood up and walked over to the chain wrapped around the tree. Right before she lowered me, there was the movement in the distance again. Mary stopped, looked around. Nothing's there. A bear pounced out the bushes and attacked Mary, shredding her limb by limb. Midway, it started sniffing the air. Oh shit, it smells me. The bear turned in my direction. It saw me dangling and tried to jump up and pull me down. Luckily, Mary didn't lower me yet, so I was safe. It turned its attention back to Mary. Whatever was left of her, it dragged back into the bushes. I just hung there and eventually nodded off. The next morning came. I woke up still dangling from the tree, but I could feel that tingly sensation in my arms like they were asleep, which tells me I got my feeling back. I managed to unlatch my wrist from the meat hook and fell to the ground. I limped back inside and grabbed my stuff. I packed it in my car and was ready to head back to my normal life. I think I might stay away from dating for a minute. Can't deal with another Mary right now. I backed out of the driveway and started down the road. I got about 3 miles before I started getting those jolts again. Son of a bitch, it wasn't the rat.